Daniel, take it away.
Thank you all for coming back. Thank you all for supporting the channel in general. It's episode 69 right now of Time on the Water. We have Oliver Nye, the fish guy, and we're really excited about it. Luke is running a charter tonight, so he's going to hop on sooner or later, or at all. But we're going to make it happen with or without him because our passion is fishing. We love fishing. And I'm really excited to have Oliver on. He is, in my mind, the definition of time on the water. We were just talking about it backstage.
That is good. That is
Charlie
good.
asked, just how much time have you spent fishing? And it's years. So through the definition of time on the water and really honing your skill, we have Oliver Nye, and I'm really excited about it. Here comes Luke.
Is he in his car? Where are you,
with
sir?
the lights off. So we actually do. So we do a little bit of a community update a little bit beforehand in the first 5 minutes. So I know Caesar from Toxic Baits is having a pop-up seminar at Tackle Express. I didn't see a date on that, but
he has. He has one coming up.
Yeah, it looks semi-Christmassy with the poster and all that stuff. So if you guys are interested on learning more fishing, and if you're here, you're probably interested in learning about fishing. So Caesar Toxic Baits seems to be holding a seminar. So check that out if you guys are interested. It should be fun. But other than that, Charlie, have you done any fishing lately?
I did. I was I fished the wall on Sunday. No, on Friday. Sorry, on Friday night. It was super cold. It's been super cold at night. Like, I mean, I'm not a very cold person, no pun intended, But we went out and we fished. We caught a couple fish. I caught a nice, almost 4-pound sand bass. Caught a couple spotties. I caught a calico. Not a big one, but other than that, I mean, it was fishing, and it was fun. Also, guys, if you didn't see my post, I made my trifecta canvases outlines. If you guys want to pick one up, hit me up. I also made these little posters. They're 8x12s, but the canvas came out pretty sick, man. Pretty stoked on it. But hit me up if you guys want to pick one up. DM me. I'll let you know. But other than that, Oliver, what about you, man?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit of fishing lately. Been shooting some content for some new baits, working into the fold for 2025. So we've been fishing Lake Casitas a few times in the last week. Messed around at a city park lake today just because I needed some sun. Snagged a turtle in the foot. It was about the most exciting thing I had going today. But yeah, it's a nice thing about SoCal is that we have the fortunate opportunity to fish year round. And a lot of the country doesn't have that.
No. And I know even like right. I talked to the guys up north, like they have seasons too, they're not fortunate like here in SoCal, right? Big shout outs to the guys up north, though.
It does have a very tropical feel to it, which allows us. And if you are multi-species, you can do a lot, and especially all year round. There's this California fishery does offer a lot to be adventurous and have fun with.
I think tropical feels a bit of a stretch.
I would agree.
What about you, Luke?
You know what? I'm sorry. I kind of missed the beginning. I was having trouble connecting the audio. I finally got it up and running. What's the question? What about me?
What are you doing? What did you do this week? You're chartering like
we've been out hitting the wall every night, and it's been interesting. Normally you see changes, but changes are kind of slowly occurring over a couple days, and you might get a rapid change here and there. But it's kind of a bit of ebb and flow. And what we've been noticing is extreme changes day to day. Like what's working one day does not necessarily work the next day. Also does not necessarily work halfway through the trip. I've been telling people to just, be flexible, don't get locked in. And I'd say that being flexible has really been paying off the last couple trips. A lot of changing, as soon as the bite kind of slows down again, starting to throw new stuff and look for what the next flavor of the moment in. It's really paid off. And last night, halfway through the night, it turned into a craw bite, which we haven't really caught on craws, I'd say, in almost 4 weeks. Not
And
consistent.
you had a nice one yesterday, huh?
Yeah, we ended up getting probably 20 something. Like we had a 35 fish night, but probably 25 of them came on the craws. And we just had a period where there was a good hour and a half where it was pretty nonstop.
Nice.
Right on. Yeah, I went float tubing Sunday. I missed the tackle meet because I decided to go fishing. I heard the tackle meet was really cool. I want to say the first time in San Pedro, so that's a nice, fun new location for the tackle meet. But just it is home to a lot of different fishermen, so that was a nice.
Yeah, it was a different
area.
venue, it was a nice venue. You went to the one in November, right, Oliver? You were helping out.
Yeah, I went through and went to go check it out. It's cool.
It being indoors was also a cool vibe. I hope we use that venue some more during the summer when it's hot out.
Yeah, it's been cold. Yeah. But it was a cool venue that Steve picked up or scouted out, and he was able to. It was a good turnout. We left a little early, but we showed up. Go support some of our friends, But yeah, that's what's been going on. So let's hop right into it.
Well,
how's the charters?
Before we start, Charlie,
uh-huh.
I don't know if you know this, but Daniel had no idea who Oliver was. So he went on his side today, and he's listened to every single podcast or show that Oliver has been a part of for the last 12 hours. So I think Daniel should start off because I'm sure he's got lots of questions because he's living in it right now.
Oliver, that is semi-true. I don't know who anyone is, and it's not
I'm
you.
guilty of the same, man.
It's one of those.
By the way, Daniel didn't tell me any of that. I just know Daniel.
So I like to do research on the people that we have coming on to the podcast so that I can generate questions and help steer the conversation into different directions. Now, one of the things I know is that you're extremely busy. So first and foremost, thank you for sharing some of your time with us today. Is there anything that is coming up in the new year that you're just really stoked on?
Oh man, how much time do we got?
we got time.
Yeah, it's this is always a really hectic part of the year for me. Trying to wrap up the 2024 year, solidifying what we had going on in this current calendar year, and then starting to prep for all the projects that I've taken on for 2025. And really, we're going to jump straight into a pretty hectic expo schedule. So we've got, I think, 9 expos on the calendar running from mid-January through the Bassmaster Classic, which is the end of March. So that's a really exciting kickoff to Q1 for 25 for myself. We will be going from the Chicagoland show to the Northeast Expo to Columbus, Ohio. Then we'll have a couple weeks off. We'll jump right into PCS here at home, which was a really dope show this past year. It was our first time going to that show, so being there firsthand and really being on the ground, engaging with home again for the first time in years, because I haven't even been to Fred Hall or Bard Hall or whatever that show has become in the last several years either. And then we got the Bassmaster Classic to wrap up the expo season, and like 4 or 5 muskie shows that I don't know if I'll be on hand personally throughout that schedule as well. So that's going to be a big jump off for a pretty big big deal in my professional life. And you guys are probably going to hear it first before anybody, really. Not only do I own Big Bass Dreams, but now we've brought in Biwa, Black Spirit, and the Defiant Fishing Tackle brands underneath the Big Bass Dreams umbrella.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, thanks, man.
Congrats, man.
It's been a lifelong culmination of busting my ass and leveraging myself into a position like this. So we're kicking it all off with our first national online tournament as well, supported by our brands as well as all of my partner brands. I'm still a Strike King ambassador. I'm still a Nomad ambassador. I'm still an ambassador for other competing tackle brands as well as non-tackle brands. So we'll be seeing a lot of support and building community through our online tournament. I felt like it'd be just another great excuse for us to want to go fishing. It's something hopefully all of us are doing already. So, roughly we're going to have 4 regions. And it's pretty much stratified by like latitude, right? Like the northern guys are going to start later, central part of the country right before them. The southern states are going to, go before them, just as that pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn window kind of opens up. And then we're going to break out a 4th region with what we call the Big 3, and that's Florida, Texas, and of course Cali, because we kick out still some of the biggest bass in the country. And it'll be a 3-month-long tournament, 5 longest fish accrued throughout that 3 months. We've got Big Bass Dreams customized catch boards coming.
Ooh, very fun.
And then we're gonna, figure out the remainder of the details, but we'll be giving away prizes, care packages, and of course cash. And there will be qualifiers from all 4 regions to compete at the end of the year for an in-person tournament, most likely like in Texas, because that's central to the rest of the country, for a 1-day fish off with the big fish format. So biggest bass wins the pot. So we're pretty excited about that. And man, I'm ready to go fishing. I got a bunch of new products and new toys that I've been unboxing and trying to reorganize. I've been, buying, tackle boxes up the yin yang and trying to move stuff that's not in my rotation anymore through like mystery boxes through the ground. That's been.
I saw that you were getting rid of some stuff too.
Always, man. It's I'm really fortunate to have as much tackle as I do because, when I started fishing at 10, like buying I think there were $3 or $4.99 shad wraps was a big deal, right? Buying a rattle trap from Walmart for $3.99, that wasn't easy. So now that I got access to pretty much anything I want tackle wise, it's pretty surreal.
It's a dream come true.
That's it, man. Yeah, aim high, dream big is one of the mottos.
So one of the things that I say a lot is that we don't need an excuse to go fishing, but I'm sure going to make one. But to relate a little bit is I grew up using hand-me-down gear for a long time. That was my introduction to fishing, and it's been just more so recent than not that I've been like, all right, I got a full-time job. I can go buy a new reel. I can go buy a new rod. I can do this. I can do that. And I will have to say that with the increase of just technology in general and just the ever progressing in fishing gear, man, that steps up the game. You're like, I knew I was an okay fisherman, but now that I have like good gear, I'm actually kind of okay.
It's something about having quality stuff, right? The better cast, the longer cast, right? Something that Luke's always said, right, Luke? Are you there?
He's got his mic, dude.
But it's more than just
the easier cast, not even the better cast. Like less effort into each cast, so you can cast more frequently.
But it's not just that like it is more of the fisherman behind everything else that makes everything better in general. But having the specific gear for what you're fishing really helps amplify what you're doing.
Absolutely. Any of you guys hoop, like play basketball?
I
Or ever
mean,
did?
for not like
I retired.
not like a basketball, but I played before. Yeah,
Even growing up, right?
yeah.
I retired
I
after
played
the
a real
best game
sport.
of
I
my
played
life.
football.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, for all the
No,
guys
I'm
that
just joking. I played basketball too.
yeah, all you guys that grew up hooping, it's kind of like the difference between playing on the blacktop, in the local park, and then going to your first 24-hour fitness for the first time. It's like, damn, this is crazy. I could kiss
It
that
actually
off.
has nets.
Yeah, for real. That's a real thing. Like it's interesting because I give my boy Billy K a lot of props. He coined this term because we talk about like our beginnings a lot when we hang out, and he told me one time that the lack of resources that we had growing up taught us resourcefulness. And that's absolutely true. And because I had such basic and like really cheap gear to start, anytime I was actually able to upgrade my tackle, like I not only appreciated it, but the performance came along with it. And I think the guys that start off the top, like one of my boys that I grew up with got into bass fishing super late, like 10 years ago, and then got his kid into it. He's buying like Mega Bass Destroyers for his kid. I'm like, yo, what are you doing, man? He's, I want him to have the best. I'm like, nah, like you're doing this backwards. Like he's not going to appreciate nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that actually kind of leads me into my next, I guess, topic is we see a lot of these new people coming in with the newest and the best. And I don't want to say that there's a decline because it kind of sounds mean, but there's definitely a skill level that is potentially not necessarily there, but because they have that increase of technology and just quality and high tech gear, that you're like, yeah, I had to break my back to be able to do half the stuff that you guys are doing.
Well, I kind of I tend to not look at it like that, and it's one of the things I tell people often. I say, I got this cheaper reel and a cheaper rod, and then 6 months later had to upgrade because I tried a good combo, and it was like, oh, well, that's why I'm not casting as far as this guy, because as soon as I grabbed his combo, I was casting as far as he was. So I tell people often, save up, get the good stuff first, because you're just going to be unsatisfied with it and replacing it in 6 months. So I think there is a bit of nostalgia around, like, I grew up fishing hard, but there's the reality of if you can lead someone in the right direction and set them up for success, that's more what I'm all about.
Yeah, but it's too like you're not gonna. I mean,
And I'm not.
I didn't grow up with the best stuff.
Against someone for for learning from my mistakes.
No, for sure.
Well, tackles also changed an incredible amount since when I first got in this game. Anything that's mid-price.
5 years.
Yeah, it's like, how do you buy a bad spinning reel if you're willing to spend $40 these days? Like, it's better than the $150, $200 stuff that was being sold in the late 90s.
Yeah.
It's hard really to find bad tackle
Nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, but
I mean,
I don't want to name any brands because it's not.
Why not?
But I bought a big brand reel that was $200, and my buddy had bought a Shimano DC, and the difference between those two reels was huge. And and I will name a couple brands. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Shimano, but some of their reels I really like the DC. The Daiwa has a lot of great reels, and so does Baits. I'm constantly buying up new baits, but there's other big name brands whose reels I've used, and it's like, man, this thing's casting 30 feet shorter than my reel. Like, that's why this guy
who, Luke?
If you really want me
Nah,
to do it, I'll do it.
no,
Charlie.
no, don't.
Okay, don't push me.
I'm not.
But no,
I'm
there
not.
like I'm if like I always say if I'm naming a brand, it's because I've put time in on it and I believe in them. And there's certain if you're listening right now, there's brands I'm not naming, and they're probably brands you're thinking of,
Yeah.
and they just don't cast as far.
Well,
But
I think it's like, I mean, like I said, I didn't. My parents are spending $300-400 on me when I was a little kid, right? For a rod and reel, but I was having a blast with a Kmart rod, man. That Kmart was like the place to go, right?
Well, but
Me too.
that's also like, not to date myself too much, but if you talk about when I was a little kid, I was fishing a pin squitter. Like it's come a long way.
That one there.
I scooped this at the Walmart because I wanted to make a point to show people like a spin cast outfit that was like $14.99 at Kmart back then, and I think I had a Shakespeare version, but it came with a little tackle pack. Like that's what got me in the game. So I was either gonna take this to a local park and give it to a kid, or try catching a fish with it myself. But we all appreciate having nice gear, but got to remember that it's not necessary. Like your ability to buy something shouldn't limit your access to fishing.
No,
And I
and
think
like you said, if you want to get out there and you want to hit the docks, you can get a fairly cheap spinning setup that's going to cast a mile.
yeah, especially at those swap meets. Dang.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
You can find some good stuff there, man.
Yeah, for real.
You
What's
can find some good stuff.
A fun fact is I think I've only bought 2 reels new ever in my life, because I was always a thrifty dude, right? I was always very frugal with my money, and I knew I could get a reel on the used market for much less than retail, and I could take that money I was saving and put it towards baits or a nice rod or something else. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with buying used gear, because you can find a lot of good stuff now too. Like there's a lot of dudes that sell their gear every year when they got their new influx. I mean, I do it every year too.
Man, you know what? During COVID, everybody was fishing, right? Like people came out of the woodworks trying to fish. Everything was sold out. And then COVID kind of died down, right?
Yep.
All those people started selling their stuff, man. Like they weren't really about it, right? It was just like the hype. Oh, fishing is cool now because we have nothing else to do. And then like you see like this, like everybody's posting, I'm selling this, I'm selling that, like what happened? I thought you were fishing, man. It was crazy times, right? I don't want to get into the whole COVID stuff, but it was crazy times when you're talking about gear, right? Like there was nothing. It was hard to find a reel. It was hard to find. I wasn't trying to spend a lot of money. And then like Luke said, like I started. I got my first nice rod, my iRod 764, my spotty rod, right? And then I put a 13 fishing on it, which I thought that was a cool reel,
Hey man, I was with 13 for a couple years. Like I was really surprised at the performance of their gear. Like I busted their ass with those 13 reels, and I will say they cast it as well as anything that I've ever used, including the big 2 that you guys already named.
Yeah. So and man, but it was a different feeling, right? Was I catching more fish? Maybe, but
as
it
long
felt
as you
good.
thought it helped.
Huh? Yeah.
As long as you think that you're catching more fish on the expensive gear, you can charge it to each fish that you catch. You catch. You know what I mean? Each fish is a dollar amount. Especially when it comes to baits. I'm like, if I spend X amount of dollars on a bait, I want X amount of fish on it.
I've heard it put pretty well, and it's the better a rod and the better a reel, the less you think about it. And like I said, I don't think of necessarily charging the dollar amount to the fish as much as how little I've got a certain reel right now that I've kind of held on to for nostalgia's sake, and I've been fishing with it the last couple nights, and man, I can't stop thinking about it. It's like there's always something pissing me off about it. It's like, man, I'm spending too much time on each trip thinking about this reel. It's time for it to go.
It's funny. I've done something similar with like those late 90s, early 2000s Shimano's, because that's what I used to fish back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, these $200, $250 price point reels are trash in comparison to today's stuff. But I still got them sitting over here in the corner just because, you know, that nostalgia.
Yeah,
I
well,
have so
I've
many
actually
rods.
been taking this thing out on the water, and it's just like, man, what am I doing to myself here?
Yeah,
It's like that.
I have
It's
so
a
many
love and hate.
rods in my garage right now that are outdated. I mean, one of them I literally is a bamboo pole with eyes on it that I'm never going to use, never going to fish. But sometimes it's like hard to get rid of that stuff because it's almost like a centering point from where you started.
Well, there's nothing wrong with keeping that stuff and putting it on the shelf, but
I
I'm
need
talking like
new
this needs to
space
come
for
out of
new stuff.
rotation.
I need more space, new stuff.
So
All right,
I want to kind of move this in a different direction, Oliver.
Same.
I've been following your charters, and one of the things I particularly like is your charters stand out as being different. You're not just another tuna charter. You're doing multiple things on your trip. There's multiple aspects, and you can't really point to anyone and go, his trips are just like so and so's trips. And I really enjoy that. You want to elaborate on that a little more?
Sure, man. And thank you for that. Appreciate hearing that kind of feedback. It really just goes back to being myself, first and foremost. The only way I've been able to maintain this kind of pace for this span of time, and I don't see myself slowing down. I think that's something that I've taken a lot of pride with, is figuring out who I am, letting my fishing reflect that unique perspective and takes on whether it's bluefin fishing, whether it's rock fishing in the last couple months, whether it's back to the freshwater bass. You know, I've always been able to approach each puzzle with a unique perspective, and I actually made a career out of kind of digesting what the local and regional culture is doing, understanding that to the best of my ability, and then swerving and finding my own lane and doing it a different way, because all fisheries are subject to pressure and conditioning. And when everybody is playing monkey see, monkey do, those fish learn real quick.
Yep.
So it can be as simple as making sure I don't fish the most popular bait everybody's throwing, or coming at it with a more analytical approach, whether I'm rock fishing and utilizing lessons I've learned traveling the country, trying to break down massive bodies of water like any of the Great Lakes, looking for freshwater fish, and attacking it with precision tools that I've outfitted, you know, my saltwater boats with, to allow me to approach them like I've done on the freshwater side and vice versa. I've got a lot of experience and perspective to draw upon after all this time on the water that I can apply to whatever species. So even on the bluefin front, I'm watching what everybody out there is doing. I'm going to go literally the other way, because number one, I want to try to cast at those things if I can, if they're not too big.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, I want to get away from the circus to give my clients and ourselves the best shot at success. It's fascinating how much people rely on other people to figure out how to catch a fish, especially that pelagic game.
Yeah.
For the most part, like I had a milk run, and I would run it every day, and we were willing to burn the fuel. And that's the nice thing about having the go fast boats, is like you can cover a lot of ground fast, but you can also drive away from the fleet and give yourself at least a one cast window before some clown runs over the school.
Yeah.
It can be that simple.
I used to run out with a captain named Mason Stoller, and that was kind of his deal. He was outside of the box, and we would heavily modify stick baits and throw big, huge spinning reels at
Yeah.
bluefin. And we'd run and gun bluefin schools, and you wouldn't see another boat around because he was operating outside of the fleet. So when he
Yep.
when he retired, I haven't really seen anyone else doing that until you. And you're not necessarily doing just that. That's just an aspect of what you're doing. But it's cool to see that happening again.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, man. And you touched on it a little bit earlier, right? Like you're seeing the value in flexibility in your approach and your techniques you're utilizing on a nightly basis. That's a lesson I learned early. And it's been more of a positive attribute than a negative one. You know, the negative part is like you can get yourself in trouble spreading yourself too thin and having too much
Yeah.
like to choose from or what to throw at these fish and not giving it a fair shot. But I've been in too many situations where being flexible has led to success. And man, that saltwater game, especially, guys are so just overly concerned with what happened yesterday.
Yes. So, what made you transition into saltwater? I know I've been following you forever. I've watched you, come out and fish calicos, and then I've watched you hop on and fish tuna. But what made you do the solid transition to now I'm a saltwater captain?
Well, I've probably logged a gazillion miles in the last decade driving away from here to
Yeah.
go see if the grass was really greener on the other side. Because I
Is
think
it greener?
at certain times of the year, sometimes. Right. Sometimes it depends what kind of grass you're looking for.
Yeah.
But you don't really appreciate what you have until it's absent. And I didn't appreciate SoCal fishing opportunities for what they were because everything else on TV and in the magazines looked so much doper than what we had here.
Yeah,
You
because
got
you do have a lot of visually stimulating areas in other places.
Yeah, but this is what we know. This is what we see every time we go. So like you just become numb to it. But what's interesting is when I have clients coming from other parts of the world and country, they're like eyes wide open, like mind blown by everything, things that we take for granted. I mean, the most simple things, like seeing fog or the island. It's just, seals. People love seals.
Well, we hate them.
I love seals.
You love seals?
Dude, well, on a private boat, at least where I'm fishing, seals don't act the same as they do at the island. Like, usually seals, we end up hooking up when seals come around. Seals are there for the same reason the bass are there.
Eating.
Yeah, it's interesting. Perspective is everything.
I had a couple guys come down from Canada, and I was filming a video of them fly fishing. And the one guy said, this is a side of LA I've never seen before. And that kind of stuck with me. And it's like, yeah, dude, it really is. Unless you're out here doing this is a side of LA that no one sees.
Well, that's interesting because remember we used to go out, before maybe like the beginning of last year, and we're in the back bays, right? It's like you will never know this was here. Like you'll never know unless you're here,
unless
right?
unless you have a boat or your balls
or you're risky. You're risky.
Yeah, you're in the back bays of Wilmington and Long Beach. There are spots that genuinely, unless you work there, you'll never see as a normal day-to-day person. I mean, I've been in like places where you're just like, I wonder how many people have been here. Because this is like a super specific spot. And it is different places in LA, and sometimes you see things differently. Just from, going beyond the piers in a boat and then looking back at the piers. Or the beach and, the cityscapes and all that stuff, which is nice.
But it's a different, like you're flying through those big tankers, right? Those big boats, man. And you're like this minute little thing, right? You're looking up, you're looking around, and then You get to the spot, you hook up. I'm gonna start flow tubing back there, man, for sure. Watch, you're gonna see.
Charlie's gonna become a pirate. That's what he's gonna do.
You're gonna see it.
So Oliver,
but
you were talking about the fast boats. Can you tell us about your boat?
Oh yeah, let me answer the question
'Cause I've
first,
got a
because I never
speeding
even
boat.
answered your previous question, Luke. My bad. And
Oh, sorry.
I spent all that time driving away from what we had here. Why am I driving hundreds and literally thousands of miles away from an awesome, uniquely dynamic fishery that I can fish year round? That's right now 12 minutes down the street. I don't even have to get on the freeway.
Yep.
So that
Beautiful.
was a big part. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, and it was something I wanted to explore because I've been gone from it for so long, and really, the year before, the middle of 23, was the first time that I got to really explore our coast and fisheries that I've been partaking in for decades as the captain of my own boat for the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm literally getting to make all of the decisions, taking all the risks, and going out and finding out if this crazy idea is going to work or not. Versus, if I'm on a charter boat or on a private boat, I'm the type of dude that has never gone in someone else's boat and told them what to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter your experience level. It doesn't matter if you're my buddy I grew up with or Kevin Van Dam. Like, I've never done that to any of those people, and I expect the same kind of respect because I've earned my way to that position to be able to make the decisions. And that kind of mystery was very intriguing to me. It's like, okay, I know I can catch calicos at the island doing this, but can I catch them doing this? Throwing that. Like, I know rock fishing is pretty easy, if I drop down a dropper with some bait. But will they really eat this freaking 500-gram jig or whatever the hell? Like, I got a giant collection of now, all of a sudden. And that kind of curiosity made it really easy to be energized about it. And I hope that comes through in the content because, I'm trying to multitask all the time. All right, you guys are seeing it. Time is our most valuable commodity.
Yep.
So I've got to be able to double, triple, quadruple dip. I don't even know what the term is for, doing 5 things at once.
That's one of the other things I always say. We can do anything, but we can't do everything.
That's right.
Zuka Joe message.
So yeah, it's been fun. It was a pretty easy transition. All things said and done. The biggest hurdle was affording the most expensive boat that I've ever bought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you were asking about the go fast boats.
Yeah, because I've got to go medium boat.
Yeah.
And I have a 6-hour sink boat. As long as I'm off the water before 6 hours, we're good.
You only have wet feet.
Wet feet.
A solid window.
Not if you stand on the benches, then you're completely dry.
Yeah, but talk about the fast boat.
Man, what do you guys want to know? I got 2 of them that are pretty fast now.
What are they?
So if you guys are looking for a boat, I got 1 of 4 with your name on it.
There you go, guys.
Well, shoot, I got 4 boats and 2 kayaks for sale. 2 trailers for the kayaks. But we got a Ranger Z518 that we've got locked in at Lake Casitas. Got a Vexus VX21 that we tow everywhere else to do the bass fishing stuff. We got a 2600 Pathfinder HPS that is literally the most versatile boat I've ever fished on in my life.
Those Pathfinders are pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's one of the bigger ones. So like we can fish spotted bay bass really technically, like in the docks, and then that same day run offshore 80 miles and go chase bluefin foamers. And then we started fishing a 32-foot cobia as well, and we're trying to sell that so we can move into a 35.
Those cobias are pretty cool boats too. I like those. I'm
now
a
that
bit of a
we're
boat nerd. I just sit there staring at boats all day.
He does. He really does.
It's
He really
crazy.
does.
They're all unique. Like, and I'm learning about them all the time myself. As this whole new world is opening up to me because I didn't come from that world. Obviously, I didn't even know anybody in the hood that had a boat in La Puente. Like,
Man, I'm from South Central. There's no boats around.
bro, like, we would just be riding through the neighborhood on our bikes, getting into trouble, pooping, or going to the comic book store or whatever. I cannot recall ever seeing a boat in a driveway.
Nah,
it's
never.
Yeah. It's definitely something new. The only boats that I ever saw were behind like locked doors that the gentleman never used. I don't think I ever saw him pull it out.
Or
The cool
like
thing about
an
boats-
abandoned boat in the street,
No, I never saw that, Charlie.
I did.
Yeah. So I don't know what the deal is, but I was never a car guy. I didn't like cruising cars. I liked having my pickup truck because it's a tool and I could do things and throw things in the back. But I was never like, oh, I want this car or that car. I was never into cars. But once I got a hold of a boat, it became my favorite thing in the world. I don't care if I'm fishing or not. I'm going out and I'm driving it around. I'm driving it around. I might as well have a fishing rod. You know what? I might as well be fishing. But I could just look at boats all day and think about boats, and it's like how you get the classic car guys. I can't get enough boat shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we went to Bard Hall and you're like, just go look at the boats real quick.
A couple hours later.
Couple hours of boats.
See, from my perspective, for most of my life, I would just like skip through all that because honestly, it was out of the realm of my reality.
Yeah.
So like, why do I give a crap about any of these boats? I can't afford these things. Like, I'll never own one. So I was like, I'm going straight to the tackle.
And now you have 4.
It's crazy.
I have to tell a story real quick because my dad makes me laugh. We're walking through the boat section at Fred Hall. He's reading everybody's sign, and he's like, there's a spelling mistake. There's another spelling mistake. There's a spelling. He goes, these people are selling these boats for like $500,000, and their signs have spelling mistakes. He's like, I can't buy that boat. It has a spelling mistake. I was like, Dad, we can't afford that boat. We have nowhere to put it.
It's very cool, like to think back. It's really cool to think back because my first boat ever, my first boat ride fishing, right, was with Luke. Luke. The first time I could have gone, but I didn't go because he's trying to launch at 2 a.m. and I was just getting home. But
you weren't getting home, you chickened out.
No, I didn't. I would have gone.
You didn't want.
Hey, this random guy hits me up and says, "Hey, you want to go fishing tomorrow at 2 a.m?" But it was a different experience, right? I'm a short pounder. I never jumped on nobody's boat. I'm fishing from shore. But it was a different experience. In the beginning, I hated it because on a boat, you don't have the same control you have on shore, right? Like, you got to know where to cast. If you get a fish, it's like, it's a different feeling, right? From being on foot to being on a boat.
Yeah, you got your butt kicked the first time.
It was bad. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I go back to what we were talking about in the beginning, right? Time on the water, right? Being different from the boat to shore. I love shore pounding, man, but there's a different experience when you're on a boat, Well,
one of the things I'll mention when we talk about not being able to afford a boat, go down to the boat launch ramp and just hang out on the weekend. You're going to see people that can't afford boats with boats. If you've got the will, you can go get the used boat and start wrenching on it. There's a way to get into a boat if you really want to. And there's a way to get into the boat, fix it up, sell it, and get a bigger boat, which is part of why I'm always looking at boats, because I always figure at some point or another I'm selling this boat and I'm upgrading. So I think, like I said, no matter your station or your current situation, there is a way to get into a boat. You just
man, I didn't get my first. No, you're absolutely right. and people that see me now with these 4 boats are probably thinking like, oh man, this fool probably came from money and blah, blah, blah. Yo, man, I wish those trust fund rumors were true. I really do.
Right?
I didn't have my first boat until I was 24 years old. I found a leaky ass 14-foot Valco up in Big Bear on Craigslist for $250, full of pine needles. I don't even know how that trailer came down the mountain. Like really, and you know that sense of excitement that I had that day as I towed that thing down Big Bear back to LP to start building the ghetto bass boat. You know, putting a 55-pound motor guide trolling motor on it, building a cheap deck, powering it with a Bass Pro battery because the homie worked at Bass Pro at the time, so I can get 40% off the battery. That boat was as cool as anything I own now.
Yep.
Because it was my first boat, and now
it's your card to freedom.
It was, man, and it was, you know, the big step needed to allow me to do everything I'm talking about now, exploring my own ideas on my own terms. Now nobody could tell me no.
Yeah.
And it took time on the water to learn through trial and error.
And for some people, a boat isn't the answer. Like for some people,
Yeah.
I say this all the time. Like if you're on the fence about getting a boat, don't
Get a float
one.
tube.
For the price of storing a boat, you can go out once a month with me.
Absolutely. I got clients like that instead of, you know, getting into a boat.
It's like everybody, you can do anything, you can't do everything. Some people got the money, not the time. Some people got the time, not the money. You know, like for example, there was a point where I was considering potentially keeping my boat when I upgrade and moving it up to store like somewhere in Santa Clarita so I could have something to hit the lakes out there. And my dad brought it up. He goes, "Hey, you always tell people that for the price of storing a boat, they can go out with you. You're not going to be taking that thing out more than once a month. Just sell it and book trips with Hammer of Fury when you want to go freshwater."
Sure.
And
big shout out to Fred.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Fred's awesome to fish with, and there's a valid point there. You know, for damn near the same price I'm going to spend to store the boat, I can go out with someone who's on the bite, and I can get a day to relax where I don't have to be the captain.
Yeah, you just park and walk right onto the dock.
And that's another thing, right? Like you buy a boat, you got to figure it out. You got to know where to go, right? Like driving it, et cetera, et cetera.
If that's your drive, that's the way to go.
But Luke put it well, right? Like we're gonna go to for instance, freshwater fishing. I don't really do a lot of freshwater. I don't do freshwater fishing at all. I want to go, but he was talking about going up to Big Bear, and I'm like, let's go, you know. And he's like, but we don't know where we're gonna do. We're gonna spend all this time trying to figure out what to do and where to go, right? When we could have somebody and go with somebody. You guys do charters. Luke does charters. You do charters. People rely on you to get them on the bike, right? Like they're on the boat because they want to catch fish, right? And it's not guaranteed that they're going to catch fish all the time, but the times that they do catch fish is because you guys put them on. You know, we went out with
give you the best opportunity we can to catch the fish.
This also kind of changes the direction of the topic, but that's why it's important, and that's why local tackle shops are important, because they are there, and a lot of the tackle, you know, a lot of the employees at those tackle shops do fish their local areas. And one of the things I like to do is if I am going to do a new spot, go to the, you know, local tackle shop and be like, hey, what's working? What have you been doing lately? Give me the details. Give me the dish. Where do I go? What do I do? And, you know, that will pay off if you are somebody that doesn't have that opportunity to go with somebody. But
what tackle shop is giving you spots? Knowledge. Please tell me.
Performance tackle, swing bite. Joe,
I'm kidding, dude.
We'll tell you all the spots. He'll give you GPS.
I'm kidding. No, he won't.
Yeah.
No, they won't.
Go visit Joe at Performance Tackle. Tell him Luke said that you got some GPS spots for them.
First of all, I'm pretty sure he will. I'm pretty sure if I go, hey Joe, what's up? You know, let me know where I can go. But I'm just joking, guys.
as an example, I was up at Big Bear. That's a pretty big lake to just pull up anywhere and just start casting a mini tube jig, hoping to catch a fish. So I went to the local shop and was like, hey, where do you think I can go fish that will actually yield some fish? What is the local intel of the last kind of week and stuff? He's like, yeah, try here, try there, and try here. That's the little bit that I do know that people have been catching fish. Went there, caught some fish, and had some trout for dinner. So it's like, the local tackle shops are important and can yield a lot of great information.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
to steer the conversation in a different direction, now that we're in winter, what kind of fishing does that bring for you, or what are you looking for in winter, Oliver?
Well, I'm probably going to go hammer on some more big rockfish for the next couple weeks before we're shut out for 3-4 months. That's on the agenda. I've got some trips booked for that. That's probably some of the most fun I've had with a fishing rod all year. That was up there, honestly, with foamer bluefin, with catching big swim bait, largemouth. Part of it's because it was new, right? It's new techniques, new gear. It's lighter gear. It's a whole different experience than what most people are accustomed to targeting rockfish. We'll probably sprinkle in some saltwater bass fishing just because that's open year round. But we're going to be focusing quite a bit on the freshwater stuff too.
Nice. Now, sorry, continue.
Yeah, there's been a good shad bite on a few of the lakes. This shad kind of start bunching up offshore, deeper water. The bass congregate. Like, I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram the other day, but I had a fish that had 3 shad in its throat, and it spit up a 4th one. While I was fighting it, I was like, "Oh, you spit up a shad!" And I opened it up, like, "Holy crap!" Like, they're plugging themselves right now. And some of our lakes are getting some trout plants, so I'm getting bit on baits like this thing, 12-inch swim bait. Like, I was literally just test swimming that thing with a client one day, just swimming it by the boat to see what it does. And like the 4th cast was almost a real one. I was like, holy crap, man. Like that.
It took your soul out of your body? Did it take the soul out of your body?
It's like nothing else in fishing, really, because the stakes, right? Like,
yeah,
a bait like that is generally going to be a really good shot at the fish of a lifetime. And that's what makes that style fishing ultimately cool. Not because a bunch of monkey see, monkey do dudes on Instagram all have the same outfit and gear setup on. It's because that fish, to be caught in that manner, is a very difficult thing to achieve, especially with consistency. That's what makes it special, because it's hard as hell.
Yeah.
Which you've done very well. Now, you mentioned rock fishing, and Joel had a question about that. Mainly, some tips and tricks for setting up on those artificial reefs, and then just that deeper structure for sand bass.
Yeah, man, it's not that different, really, as far as the approach and breaking it down. And it's all a systematic kind of approach for me. And really, you just got to try it. All right, number one is map reading. You want to learn how to identify places to explore on a map. And it doesn't need to be the most obvious thing that you see on your Navionics, or you don't need waypoints from people. It could be as simple as paying attention to your electronics as you're putting out of the harbor or on your drift. If you notice something that's inconsistent with the bottom, that has a potential to hold fish. Explore it, drop baits on it. Try it in different angles. Try up current, try right on top, try down current, try off to the side. Try dropping back to it. Throwing up current and letting it sink out. Like, all of those things can unlock a new spot. And most people aren't really willing to go through that trial and error methodology, from my experience. They'll go to their waypoint or a known area. They try what they always try, and if it doesn't work, they move on. So I have a much more methodical approach based on what I'm like seeing and observing with my naked eye above the surface and my electronics below the surface. And you kind of got to, weigh the benefit to risk ratio. It's like, okay, am I gonna risk wasting all my time like trying to catch a fish off of this spot that I feel is promising? But that all comes with experience. Try different baits. I mean, I've got, I think, like 200 new jigs in the last 3 months. That some jigs are better than others.
Yep.
They all sink a little bit different.
Mm.
But with that being said, they're not better than others all the time. They may be better than others in that specific scenario.
And that's one of the things that I like about your fishing style and just who you are in general, is because you're willing to take that time to break down that area, which a lot of people do. You mentioned the monkey see, monkey do. All right, I'm going to throw this one bait, and if that doesn't work in this area, that area is dead. And you're like, not necessarily. Did you try this? Did you try that? Did you try it from this angle? Did you try it from that angle? Did you try everything? And then go, yeah, okay, that area is dead. So it's like, specifically for me, I can hit an area multiple times. Like I might just go through it, from start to finish, it's 45 minutes. And then it's like, I can go back to the first spot and, I haven't touched it in 45 minutes and throw something else and potentially catch a whole different set of fish.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Even on the rock fishing front, people assume that I've got like these honey holes. What they don't realize is like almost every one of those videos is a new spot in the first time I've ever fished it.
Yeah.
That's why we're so damn excited when you see us go bendo, because it's like, oh shit, they live here.
They're here.
Too.
They're here.
And the fact that we can continuously just manifest that success over and over, it's a very empowering feeling, because I don't have to rely on anybody to go do what we do. But I'm kind of a nerd in the aspect that I really enjoy like the scientific method and approach that I take in gathering as much data and information as I can. On the biology side, understanding seasonal patterns, their prey species and how they behave, just the deepest, darkest freaking rabbit hole you can go down to try to formulate this, plan of attack each and every day. That's what I geek out on. And, even with new baits, like I've got dozens of new baits that I'm unpacking now, and it's like every one of them has that potential to unlock a bite, like Luke's discovering recently on the crawbait, right? It's like, man, what can this tailspin that I've been fishing really do in that scenario that I envision in my head? So explore those ideas, have a mind of your own. I mean, that's literally one of my seminar topic titles throughout the country. Like, dude, just think for yourself.
The cool approach to trying everything and seeing how things swims, it doesn't just improve your fishing, but it helps you grow as a fisherman to approach different scenarios better. Because you go, oh, I tried this once in this situation, absolutely balled out of control. Let me see if I can't recreate that. But you would never know if you didn't try it in the first place, or failed and said, oh, you know what? This bait swims like this falls like this action is like this. I need to apply that to a different situation. 2 months later, this is it. I can't wait to throw it. So that's where it's like trying everything, failing 90% of the baits, and then figuring out how they all work can help you implement them better in fishing different scenarios, different days, different months, or even, as Luke was saying earlier, day to day. Things can change, and so you have to be adaptable.
Yeah, and big shout out to a couple people in the chat that I see. My man Jake Wingate is actually from the Chicago area, and he flew out to Casitas with me and got to see SoCal culture. And he's one of those dudes that have been brainwashed that California sucks ass, right? Don't go there. And I've been on a personal vendetta to showcase how dope Cali is. I got so sick and tired of hearing that shit throughout the years. And it's like, dude, have you ever even been there? Well, no, I would never step foot in that place. Like,
You'll be mind blown. You probably won't even want to leave. You know?
Jake had the time of his life. He actually walked PCS show and stuff too. And I'm sure he'll be back.
Dude, PCS is a whole different, like, right? So much vibes.
It's the most fun you can have in a weekend.
It's the funnest, man. You know?
Yeah, big shout out to my man Matt Florentino.
He just hopped on right now. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Matt.
Matt's been a big supporter of us, and we appreciate that since day one.
Biggest supporter of our channel.
Hey, man, like one of my biggest pet peeves throughout my experiences in this fishing culture, especially on the business side of the game, have been dudes in the industry that don't know what the hell they're talking about, that aren't about the life, that aren't out there fishing and entrenched in the culture. They talk about it like they're participants.
Yeah.
But like Matt is not that dude. He likes fishing more than I do because you won't catch me out with a kayak in the middle of the night on the break.
He's like in the middle of the night on the kayak, man. Dude, big props to you. And he's catching big bass, right? Like on the kayak, man, late at night, which I would totally do if I had the chance, right?
I got two of them for scale, dog. Trolling motors and everything. Spot locks.
You could stand on it, but I go back to that, right? Like what I was saying backstage, Luke's like, dude, so-and-so was saying that, you're a boat guy now. And they don't know. I short pound more than being on a boat, right? Because I love being, man, anytime I have chance to go out, I go out, right? Like I love being out, man. I don't have to be with anybody. I can be by myself.
Well, people think Charlie's only going out on boats. That's just because he's not posting his secret spots.
I love fishing. Like I love going out, man. Like I love it, man. I grew up doing it. I stopped for a long time, got back into it, met some cool people, right? Like that vibe the same way I vibe, and we talk about the same things, and it's just a whole different feeling, man. And being on a boat is just an extra, right? Like that's just another way of fishing. But
yeah, like if anybody out there is still a diehard short pounder, whether it's by choice or not, I will say you need to just embrace it, because I was that dude for so long. And I will say, once I actually got off the bank, the valuable lessons I learned through my experience on the bank have paid off more so than guys that start in a boat. Like they miss out on so much perspective, like understanding how important angles are, right? Length of your presentation, because we're limited by our approach from the bank.
Cast control, like all that, man.
You got to milk it, right? You got to
like
milk
all that, like
everything it's worth.
Like it's that, right? Like that little spot. Oh man, I'm pretty sure there's a fish right there. Like just
And
waiting.
Even subtle things like understanding that if you're throwing a Texas rig worm, that if you're not constantly working that bait uphill so you're maintaining bottom contact, you probably won't get bit. Versus a guy that starts in a boat is throwing that thing from deep to shallow and is probably swimming that thing above the bottom, wondering why he's not getting bit. So don't be bitter at the dudes with the boats. Just be cool. Hop on, offer to wipe that bitch down. They suck to clean.
I wipe boats.
He's after landing.
Charlie's a liar.
We'll clean your boat.
We're trying to get the boat ready to leave, and he's still fishing.
Yeah.
I'm that one last cast guy, right? The one everybody's like, dude.
Still fishing.
Hey man, I will say, when I came up as a youngster and I had the fortune to go on my mentors' boats, or these guys that would take me under their wing, I made damn sure that I cleaned the shit out of those boats and just made it really, really obvious how appreciative
grateful
that opportunity. And man, I've been around some people who are just like, dude, they're like leaving trash and like picking weeds off of their bait, and it's like all over the carpet, or And I'm just like, dude, what the hell? And then they don't offer to help wipe the boat down at the end of the day. That's mind blowing to me.
Like, that's one thing, right? If we're going out, if me and Luke are going out, like, we're staying at the ramp, we're washing the boat down, right? Like, we're taking the trash out. You know, it might not be we're not out there like, I think we did it like once or twice, huh, Luke?
I only scrub the boat down like once a month. It's usually just wash downs, and then I give it a deep scrub once a month.
But yeah, it's that. Right? I'm gonna be home late, but it's all right. You know, it's all right. I gotta go to work at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, but it's all right. You know, we'll get the boat
He just
clean.
goes from the landing straight to work, smelling like fish. And
No, I've never done that before.
cocktail.
But
I don't
Yes,
believe
I wanted to talk about, you're known for big baits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you throwing those big baits for saltwater fish?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I haven't seen it fully transfer as far as that big bait, big fish concept, like to the full max. It's not like a exact parallel. I do throw bigger than normal baits than what guys are throwing.
I will say that right now everything's been on smaller baits. Last year we were throwing big baits like that, and they have just not been into anything big this last year.
Yeah, it's very situational, is what I'm learning. You know, there is a definite time and place. Like, you know, you want to talk about breaking preconceived notions. Like, the most epic topwater bite of my life didn't happen in the summer. I'm talking about calico fishing, mind you. I'm sorry. Should have led with that. It didn't happen.
You see my eyes? I'm like, what?
The most insane topwater calico bass fishing I've experienced in my life was this past January, right before I had to start the show season, on a big stick bait.
Oh,
in freaking January in 55-degree water. Right? Like, this is the same stick bait we're catching bluefin on. In like the 60, 70, I was throwing the 90, then I started throwing the 120 gram. And dude, like 5, 6, 7s, one that had to be fine, like punched it out of the water. And this is like, what the hell is going on right now? It is freaking freezing cold, middle of January, and these bass are losing their minds. And, you know, just the whole drive home, we're like, dude, what just happened? Like, that wasn't supposed to happen. Like, dude, it was wild, man. And that's one of the beauties of fishing is, you know, you can have all of these kind of baseline ideas and fundamentals, and like,
it's always gonna throw you for a loop, man.
Yep.
But fishing is never an activity of absolutes. And when I hear guys talking about only in this scenario or only use it when this is happening, like they talk in such absolutes, it's like, bro, you haven't been doing this long enough. Because these fish show you that you don't know shit, good or bad.
When Charlie caught his big calico, we both caught big calicos that night. But Charlie goes, Charlie started noticing they were biting stuff faster, and he starts going, I should throw a crankbait. I should throw a crankbait. I should throw a crankbait. Finally, go, Charlie, you mentioned throwing a crankbait one more time. We're going home. Just throw the crankbait. Stop talking about it. Just throw it. And he ends up throwing and catches an 8-pound calico on the crankbait, which is not something. It's like, yeah, we can catch bass on the crankbait. I'm never in my head going, let's target big ones on the crankbait. But man, Charlie proved me wrong that day.
But I think Oliver's proven it too, right? You're catching big bass on crankbaits, man. Like,
yeah, I got an 8.5 this year, and the funny thing about that fish is, you know, I'm fishing a stretch of the break wall where there's a gazillion cormorants and pelicans on it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, just as the sun's like disappearing for real, it's like turning into dark.
Yeah.
And every time you cast, those birds are spooking off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, am I going to snag one of these idiots? Like, with my trouble?
I hate that, man.
By the way, when Charlie did it, it was like 11 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
Crankbait in the middle of the night.
Crankbait. We caught, what did we catch on the crankbait? Like 20 fish that night?
So after that, we caught so many
fish on the crankbait, man. It was just a fun bite, right?
It
was an emotional. Huh?
You were tuned in somehow. You're like, I got to throw a crankbait,
dude. And it's listening, right? It's listening. Like, to people that talk to you, like, you got to look for this, you got to look for that, right? Like Luke was throwing something. I don't know what you were throwing, but I was just like, dude, they're hitting me on top, right? Let's throw top water. Let's throw something that's gonna, right? Same thing when we're fishing for striper. You know, we were kind of fishing low, right? And I'm like, dude, they're hitting, they're busting on
Yeah,
top.
we had no idea how striper worked at that point.
Let's like they're blowing up. Like, let's throw something like a jerk bait, you know? Man, we tied on a jerk bait. Luke caught his first striper that night, and I caught a almost 3-pound spotty on this little Yuzuri minnow, like this
the
big.
spotty
Man.
was running with the striper.
Isn't that crazy? Like, it's just like listening, right? Listening to what people tell you and then adapting to it, you know?
Or you just be lucky as shit like I was. I didn't even finish my story about that calico. So like I make this cast, right? And these pelicans and cormorants are freaking flying in mass and panic off the wall. And I'm like, crap. And they're like flying into my line and like hitting the water. And then a cormorant actually flies into my line like 30 feet in front of the bow, like wraps its wing or some crap on my line and dives. And I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, this thing's going to snag when it comes tight. So I'm winding, and of course it comes tight. And I'm like, God damn, beep, beep, freaking cormorant, beep. And I'm like, yanking, like, oh, dude, this thing got me in the freaking kelp. And I'm like pulling on this stupid thing, cursing this freaking bird out. And then it comes up to the surface, and dude, it's a freaking like 26-inch freaking 8.5-pound calico. I was like,
dude,
you didn't even realize you were fighting a fish.
You didn't even know he didn't even know he was bit. He didn't even know he was bit.
Not for a second.
Hey guys, I'm stuck on the bottom.
Yeah. It was the most ridiculous big calico catch I've ever had. And like I had another 8-pounder, I think earlier in the year, last year, that I mean, I was like, dude, did I just hook one of these broomtail groupers? Because I hadn't really felt a bass pull like that before. You know, on the other side of the spectrum, it's crazy, man. Fishing is so dope. You just don't know what the hell is going to happen.
My big one, I was certain. I was calling it out. I was like, it's either a black sea bass or a broomtail.
10 pounds.
It was the same
sand bass.
The same thing with my big sand bass, man. Oh my
Yeah,
god!
the same thing with my big spotty.
Like, this thing hit me so subtle, right? And I'm on a spotty rod, man. I'm not on a big heavy rod, right? And I'm like winding, winding. I'm throwing one of these like I don't know if you've seen those chatter swing baits, right? They're like, they got a chatter blade and it's a swing head as well. So I'm swimming it on the bottom and I feel it like rattling, right? I feel it thumping and then it stops. I don't know if he didn't know if I didn't know he hit me because it didn't hit me hard, right? Spotty's like, they'll hit you. You'll feel it, right? He just picked it up. And as soon as I go to wind, he hooks himself. And I'm just like full bendo, man. It's a 200 size reel, right? I'm like winding and I can't wind anymore. I'm like, I can't wind. It's like woof, 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 just digging, rolling, bad. And I'm like, I can't this thing. And when we saw that bass, man, I'm telling you, it was 25 inches. I don't know. T says the scale wasn't that good, right? That thing was massive, man. The head was just like, I mean, you could see how I'm talking, right? It was just like, what is this? It's so big.
I love
it makes me
listening
so
to Charlie talk about fish. It gets me stoked.
Did I cry?
Did you cry?
It makes me happy that you guys are this excited talking about sand bass, because I feel like as a species that fish gets shit on unnecessarily.
So much.
Hey, tell him what I said to you, Charlie. I knew I was on speaker when he called me.
Dude, so I call him like, Luke, I just caught the biggest bass I've ever seen, man. It's bigger than my calico. And he's like, what is it? It's like sand bass. He's like, it's just a sand bass, man. I'm like, don't get it. I'm like, you jerk.
I said sand bass are dumb. They'll eat anything, Charlie.
I'm like, I'm calling my buddy to be like, to feel stoked. I'm pretty sure he was stoked, but he's gonna shoot me down.
That's what
he's like,
do now, man. That's
right? He's like, dude.
I
He's like, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's just a sand bass, man. I'm like, you jerk.
When I caught my 10-pounder, someone said that to me. I caught my 10-pound sand bass. Someone goes, yeah, but it's a sand bass. They'll eat anything. I was like, well, then you go get a 10-pound sand bass.
This is where
You get
people
a
get
10-pound sand bass and show me.
this is where people get the internet and social media like effed up, because amongst friends, you're more than welcome to bust each other's balls. You can't go to somebody you don't know with that same type of energy because it doesn't come across the same way.
This was someone I did know, but they weren't busting my balls. They meant it. Like, it was
that hurts even more. That hurts even more, you know?
Well, it doesn't hurt because it's like I know that person's big one was a 5-pounder. So it's
like was it me? Did I
But well, same thing. I had another guy go when I caught my first striper. They're like, "Oh, it's a little one." And it's like, dude, you come out to a harbor and catch a harbor striper. First of all, I don't care how big it is. Just show me that you can catch one, and then we can talk.
That's right,
dude. When I fish, man, I'm stoked for whatever I catch. Right? A big fish is just a cherry on top, man. Like I'm always stoked to get bit. You know, I haven't lost it, man. I mean, I caught my fair. I caught my nice bass, right? But every fish to me is like just to feel that bite, right? Like just to feel that hit. Cause some bass, they hit hard, man. And they're 2 pounds, 3 pounds, right? Like nothing big. And those little ones, man, they ram you, you know? But it's the stoke of being out on the water, right? Like you gotta appreciate that, man. Catch fish or not, right? You gotta love being out there.
Tonight. I got to give a quick shout out to AFCO for keeping us warm.
Is that the Reaper jacket?
That's going on next.
I was gonna say, is that the one with your design on the back of it or no?
I broke that one last night. I was getting off the boat and I caught the jacket on a cleat and ripped the jacket. But I had that one for 3 years.
Dude.
No.
That's a good run.
Good run.
It's paid its dues.
I'm the kind of guy that runs 2 Reapers, so I have another one ready to go.
He wears them both at the same time.
It's cold out there, man.
It's definitely getting cold. When I was float tubing this Sunday, the water wasn't too bad, but the longer you stay in it, the colder it just gets. And if for all those science buffs out there, the coldest part of the day is right before the sun rises. The world is cooling right before that sun rises. So it just gets colder. Like you enter the water in at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And you're like, oh, that's not too bad. It's not too bad. Then you realize you have another 2.5 hours of it just getting colder and colder. Oh, it's rough.
So are you?
I'm not a fan of cold.
You're not what?
I'm not a fan of anything cold.
Really?
Yeah.
I will.
I don't mind it as long as I'm doing something I like to do, right?
I thought it was cold here, and then I was talking to a guy at Tackle Express, and he goes, "Oh, you run trips all winter?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, it's not like it gets cold." And I go, "Well, it gets cold," and he goes, "It doesn't get cold like Castaic in January with wind chill." And I'm like, "No, I guess it doesn't get cold."
It gets does it get really cold?
Well, we get down to the high 30s. Like you get up in Castaic, and it's like cold enough to snow.
Yeah, I mean that's all right. You go to the mountains. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't get as cold as Mammoth.
That is true, though. Yeah. Tom said as soon as it's cold, the gear does matter. The gear is everything.
That's kind of where I'm going with it. I'm agreeing with you, Daniel. Like, it does get cold, but we don't have to worry about ice on our guides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different experience. Until you actually experience it, it's like, what the hell? This is weird. It's a real problem.
Ice on your guides?
Yeah, when you're
winding your line in,
it freeze. Yeah.
It'll get stuck. Like it won't wind anymore.
Yeah.
You got to break them off a little bit, but you have to be gentle about it.
You got to dip it.
You got to dip it before you skip it?
I don't even know what that is. Sounds provocative.
Well, no, I've heard guys when they get ice in their lines, you got to dip the rod and it'll take the ice off.
I know. I know. I just like making jokes that
Well,
people don't
no,
understand.
I know you know. Daniel didn't know.
Um,
I don't like to be in freezing cold weather, Luke. I've
so
I fished in 18 degrees once from the back of a car during a snowstorm, and then
Right.
at that moment I realized that I never want to do that again because it's cold and it's miserable.
so Oliver, are you like into like the moon phase and all that stuff?
My guys
Absolutely.
are here. I got to sign out, fellas.
All right, man. Have a good
All
trip.
right. See you guys later.
Be safe out there, man.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we can also end it right now. We usually run an hour. It's already been an hour 20. I know that each of us could definitely go longer and continue
This was
talking.
fun.
We'll have to catch up with you again when you have an extra hour. We'll break down some other things. Honestly, I know that we could. I mean, we haven't even touched the surface of your knowledge and just fishing experience in general. I had questions like, "Tell us about your craziest story," and then that was going to be like 45 minutes right there, but we didn't even get to that. But we'll call it here. We'll
But it was fun. It was,
I had a blast.
it's about, right, just getting down, talking about what we love to do, man, and what fuels everything, right? That's always is my thing, man. I mean, everything we do is fueled by one thing we love, and that's fish. Chasing the bite, right? It's something that if you don't know, right, everybody thinks fishing is boring if they don't fish, dude.
Yeah, they're wrong.
Right? Like if you don't fish, you think it's everybody. For some reason, everybody thinks it's like I'm out there just waiting for a fish to hit me. Right? I'm not walking. I'm just sitting down on my chair, waiting for my rod to bend. No,
sometimes
fishing is
even that's fun. Don't knock it.
I did it,
Wait, I
but
love it.
I did it. I did it, but when I started,
squid for bat ray can be a lot of fun. I don't think bat ray or shark fishing gets enough love. And what? I'm gonna start doing that.
you are.
Start playing
I want to
love
see that happen. I want to see that happen. But Oliver, I think this was. I'm gonna call this the icebreaker show. Because episode. Next time we're gonna get down and dirty with what it is. But man, thanks a lot for coming on, man. It was fun.
I appreciate your time. I mean, we all appreciate your time. Do you want to plug your socials real quick?
Sure, but first I just want to thank you guys for having me on. It means a lot that the homegrown culture wants to know what I'm up to. So this is where I'm from. This is who I try to represent for when I'm out and about traveling throughout the country and the world. So it's good to be it's been good to be home for this long as of late. And man, I'm telling you guys, don't take this place for granted. Go see everything else, but what we have here is truly unique and special and one of a kind. And feel proud that you're from SoCal, because fish here are tough as hell to catch. I don't care where you guys fish, especially on the freshwater side. Like, man, it is not easy to catch those fish. So wear that on your sleeve with a lot of heart, man, because you guys earn every single bite you guys get, and you guys can follow along on my personal channels. It's as easy as Oliver Nye on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The Big Bass Dreams platforms are more to showcase the entirety of the team, who is now nationwide and worldwide. So if you want to see kind of like the overall reach of Big Bass Dreams, you can follow our adventures there. We have a weekly live stream of our own, if we can. Like last week, we had Brian Latimer. This Thursday, we got Mark Daniels Jr., who's originally from the Bay Area in the West Coast, and he's a Cali boy fishing at one of the highest levels. So we try to have these conversations that I get to have on a personal level with some of the best fishermen ever, and bring them to you through our platform, so you guys can hopefully get some insight and hear some cool stories, and hopefully get fired up to go fishing. So looking forward to the next one.
For
we'll
sure,
see you guys.
man. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait for you to hop on again. And yes, we will be there at PCS, guys. A couple of the guys have Waterman's Collective is going to have a booth. I think Luke, Daniel, you'll be there too, right?
I'll be there. There's a handful of different retailers, Tackle Supply, LA Fishing Alliance, Waterman's Collective, Performance Tackle. So those are the 4 offhead. There might be more by the time PCS shows up. My goal right now is to just make sure that I have enough baits to make sure that everybody's stocked up for the show and have an absolute great time. If all comes together and somehow I, by the lack of sleep in me, I can make some merch, that would be really cool. But I'm going to do my best as always. And we appreciate you guys. So thank you for that.
And like I said before we almost ended this, guys, thanks for rocking with us all the time. The guys that are still here, I think it's been like that since we started, and I appreciate you guys. We all appreciate you guys. Luke's not here, but of course he appreciates you guys and the love that you guys gave us. Right? I could go on, but
I know,
guys, thank you. Oliver, thank you. Daniel, what fuels it all is our love for fishing, and that's why we do what we do. Thank you, guys. Peace. Oliver, we'll catch you on the next one.
Much love.
Later.